So today I've just downloaded a new firmware with the DJi Simulator for the RC2 controller, and I think the new Maverick 4 controller as well. So there's quite a few services recommended videos for helping to learn how to fly on the drones. So I'm just going to click on the simulator, DJi's new simulator they've added to the controller now. So we're just going to click on basic courses, the beginners. Most of the others are coming soon, they're locked at the moment. So we're just going to upload into a kind of built up area and start the course. So I'll just follow the instructions here on what to do. So most of these functions I already know. I've been flying for quite a long while with the Mini 3 Pro and the Air 3. This is the Maverick 4 Pro, so I don't have this drone. I think it's like something like £2,000 to get it with the controller, RC2 controller. So just following all the instructions. So it's quite simple. I mean, the controls and everything is more or less what it would be if you were actually flying with the controller. So the functions are more or less the same. It's pretty easy to. I think if you never flown the drones, it seems to be more or less just as if you were flying the actual drone itself. So just talking about the air obstacle avoidance sensors there. It's quite simple, so for a beginner this should be fairly quick to learn how to fly. And we're done. So photos of more or less the same, I think. So you got the front keys here. You can take pictures of particular things. And video record. I think it is fairly similar to the actual when you're actually flying. And the basic return to home. So all these functions are useful especially when you're new, just getting because you also got the pause button. So if you just press the pause button, it will just hover in that position, and you have to just hold it to actually get it to return to home. So it's kind of very similar. I got the RC2 controller, which came with the Air 3, but not the Air 3S, but the Air 3, which is the first one to have the RC2 controller. So now I'm just going to fly, and I'm going to put it into sports mode and see what happens. So the acceleration there was very high, much higher I think than it would normally be, to be a bit more gradual, and obviously you don't have any of these fences. So here the maximum speed of the Maverick 4 is 25 meters per second in sports mode. And I think it's supposed to have a 2 meters a second faster if you have a tailwind, so 27 meters per second, which is about 960 miles per hour. Normal speed at 25 meters a second is 55 miles per hour. So here we've got, this is quite realistic in how you'd get blocked by buildings, and obviously what I'm trying to do here is get it to totally lose connection as what you normally have if you go behind a building like this. And here we go, so this is quite realistic in how you would lose connection here if you went behind an obstacle that was quite large. And it's sort of quite good in showing how returning to home. The new controller now has this kind of inbuilt path. You can take control at any time by pressing cancel, but obviously it's probably best to let it go, especially if you're new. And it should return at about, usually I think the set speed is 12 meters per second. In this case I think it's seems to go up to 15, but I think in normal drones it's 12 meters per second is the maximum wind resistance or something. So all in all, it's very realistic to what the normal drone would be. Perhaps I'm going to fly around a bit. I'll put it in brake mode. So bypass just means that it'll try and go around an object, whereas brake just brakes if it has something around. There's certain advantages to each. Yeah, it's quite... when you got the sensors, it will slow you down when you're near objects like this, give you more, make it easier to, or reduce the risk of accidental crashing. That's fairly useful. It's fairly useful to turn off if you need to, but generally it depends on your skill. I'd say if you have a beginner, you would want to keep the sensors on, as they would give you the maximum protection from accidentally crashing into things. Just taking a picture here. So I turn that off. Let's see what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll fly into something. So we're just going to fly around in sports mode and see what we can fly without crashing. Do accelerate the speed a bit here. Bit of connection loss there. Just flying around quickly around these things, seeing if I crashed into something there. And you've got this little camera to show you can see what actually happened, what mistake you did. Here I just nipped the side of the pole there. So back to the start. So we go do another fly in sports mode. See if what else we can fly around. Oops, hit something else. Get another simulation of what happened. Oops, that was like bouncing off there. it would be a bit difficult to get up there. So this is like the map. So you can use this as another way of looking where you are, location. Obviously it doesn't, you can't see where you're above buildings or not, but it'll show the location. So normally you wouldn't get the kinds of resolution that you normally have with the maps. Be sort of, you'd have the location, but you normally, unless you download a local map, it wouldn't have very much detail. So this is much higher detail. Zoom in a little bit. Fly quickly. 25 meters per second. So yeah, that shows the top view. And now we're going to go in for a close-up of one of these buildings, I think. So one of the advantages of having these little sensors, you can actually use them to help you get a position close up. I just set to braking or bypass mode around here. Just say, normally just in case you'd do that, just to avoid crashing into something. So you can use these sensors to get your kind of position, just to help. It's quite useful. And again, this simulation is pretty real to what it would look like in real life. So we'll just do an orbit around the building. I might have to reset the speed a bit. Normally for these you'd have a lower speed, about 5 or 6 meters per second. 6 meters, like 20 kilometers an hour. So 5's good. So just orbit here, probably just a bit. Get a nice view. So I'll just move it to 12 meters a second and we'll go do a bit of following some of the vehicles down there. Don't actually have to switch off the brake mode, because when you go to sports mode that automatically switch off any safeties you have. It's only if you're in normal mode or C mode that you would have to, and you don't want the safety on, that you, for example, like you just want to fly quickly between buildings and things. So in C mode, so you've got 12 meters a second, but I've turned the safeties off so I can fly quickly without any it slowing me down. Normally you can do a follow the vehicle, but that feature doesn't exist in this simulation yet. So I can't follow any vehicles. Might have that later on. Turn that back on. Some other features coming soon. So here you got all the obstacle avoidance sensors, what they look like in camera. Obviously low resolution, but it gives you a kind of idea where what you're looking at different directions. Usually just help you gain your position where things are, or large objects are, rather than small things, because the resolution is very low, so you can't see very well out of them. But it's how it kind of look from the camera point of view if you go into the actual mode. So now we're going to climb as high as we can go in this simulation. Normally you'd be maximum altitude is about 500 meters in the settings that DJi normally allows, but here it's less than that. But you kind of get an idea. Even at 200 or 300 it seems quite high, going up at 10 meters per second. Don't have any of the normal height restrictions in the safety mode here. It's just curious to see what they got here, but it looks like it's just 100 meters to return to home, so 120 would obviously be the maximum for return to home, but that's it for the height. So we're just looking at this tower, just curious about it. Fly over to it. Fortunately it's locked out, so we can't fly over to it. I was going to do like a circle around it, but I can't do that because you can't get to it, unfortunately. Kind of a pity, really. Okay, I'm going to fly into the blue building. Here we go. Oh no! Whoops, that's the end of the drone. And we can watch ourselves in motion. Gonna hit it. Here we go. There we go. The end of the Maverick 4 Pro. Just going to do a little bit of an orbit around this flag. I've got it in C mode. I think it's something like 5 meters per second. I think it's going too fast, so I'll have to make some adjustments. A horizontal speed less than it should be, so I have to be about 6 meters per second. Yeah, that's about right. Just going to avoid some of these hitting these buildings. As you can see, on the radar, you can see the movements as you change direction. So that's one of the advantages. I use that quite a bit to mostly to determine the direction of the wind and things like that. That's one of the things you have to watch out when you're in sports mode, or flying low and fast near buildings and things like that, is for cables like this. And this is quite realistic, because when you fly into them, and I have come quite close to one or twice when flying. You can't always, so it's always a good thing to keep your eyes peeled for anything like that, because the sensors won't necessarily pick them up. So always kind of watch out for those kind of things. So don't always rely on the sensors. Sometimes you have to kind of keep an eye you know, that's another reason why also when you go out and visual line of sight, you take in more risk of things that you can't necessarily see in the screens. So you probably wouldn't see, I wouldn't normally see this. So you are taking more risk if you're flying your drone out of visual line of sight. So usually a good idea is if you're going to fly and is to walk around the area, especially when areas where things like cables and small things which you could accidentally fly into. It's always a good idea to actually have a visual walk around, see what's possibly your drone will fly out. So if you're flying around, you know what's there in advance to actually flying the drone there. It's a useful way to see before actually doing filming and doing things like that. Your flights are responsible for your flights, so the main thing is educating people on the risks involved with how you might fly a drone, and like when you go behind buildings or fly far distances where you can start to get interference with your controller and the risks involved with. There's a lot of safety features in flying the drones these days. There's a lot of where you can fly and actually get your drone. The features, the sensors help you to not to lose your drone, because that obviously, if you lose your drone, that's several £100, and that I'd say is more a bigger deal than all these little breaking the rule things are. It's really about trying to keep yourself out of trouble. For obviously, I'd say losing my drone would be quite a devastating thing for me, and it would be not be able to get a drone back in for function for flying for some time. So I'll just exit that, so I'll try other modes. So that's the Maverick 4 Pro. Keep on. It's just come out at this point. So yeah, DJi's Maverick. So that's, I think, the full with the new controller as well. That's like £4,000 or £3,200 to get that one. So much more. You have the Air 3S. I got the Air 3, but not the Air 3S. So which has a new sensor, LiDAR sensor, which allows it to fly in darker environments with the obstacle sensors. So that's one advantage, and I think I think most of the functions in it are the same, and it also has a 1-inch sensor, whereas the Air 3 just has the same sensors, the Mini 3 Pro, although it does have the 17mm extra telephoto lens. The one difference here for some reason is it's got 27 meters a second, which is what the Maverick 3 Pro is supposed to have, with 2 meters a second tailwind. For some reason they've added it as 27 meters a second. I don't think that is the normal top speed in the Air 3S. Obviously it would be useful if you want to get to somewhere quickly, but normally you wouldn't need to use that function for most things. The only thing is you'd want to fly it to a location where you want to film, like cinematic of a mountain or things where you want to get a couple of 100 meters quickly. But apart from that, there's really not that much reason to go that speed. So just bring it back to me. So here you can download the new features. You got one extra Stonehenge which has been added, and I've downloaded it here. It's 58 megabytes. I've got a couple of gigabytes up to, I think, a couple of gigabytes I can add, so I can add a couple of programs. It's not too bad, 58 megabytes for flying around objects, and Stonehenge is quite an impressive location. And you can see I'm locked until the new download comes available, so it's quite useful. Just the normal drones available. So I have the Air 3, but in this program you've only got the Air 3S and the Maverick 3 Pro, but they're very similar to drones really. This is what the Maverick 4 Pro looks like in the simulator, and that's the Air 3S in the simulator.